see the hope in your heart.
What's up, guys? It's Allison. Last night, I went to the Riordan event in St. Paul, and it was really awesome, and I filmed most of it. I'm in the wrong shirt. There we go, Hotel Bala merch. So, most of the next part of the video is just going to be more kind of like the first. He also released the name of the third Magus Chase book, which is really cool, and I don't know if you know it, but it's Father, he said afterwards, and it was really hilarious if you understand it, so...
Okay, guys, are you ready to meet Captain Underpants? I mean, the storyteller of the gods. Here he is. What time is it? Riordan!
Wow, look at this. Man, I knew we were in the right place today when I saw that new Viking stadium. That stainless steel longship, that's pretty cool. I'm going to be moving that into battle pretty soon. Of course, we're here because it's the Hammer of Thor tour. Yeah. And if you're wondering where the Hammer of Thor is, you can all relax, I found it. I found it in Norway, and I'll tell you a little bit about how that came to be in a second. Well, in February, we put out a book that some of you may have read. It's called Demigods and Magicians. Every once in a while, I'll just get this idea for a smaller story that wouldn't make an entire novel, but would still be fun to write. And a lot of people have been asking me, are you ever going to combine the Kane Chronicles, which are about Egyptian mythology, with the world of Percy Jackson? And so I did 3 different stories in which Percy and Annabeth meet up with Carter and Sadie Kane, the siblings in the Kane Chronicles. And they were originally just in the backs of books and little extra things, like you could buy it as an e-single. But people said, please, can you just put them together in one book? So I'd like them all to be on the bookshelf there. And I said, sure, no problem. So that came out in February. That was a lot of fun. So if you want to get your Carter and Sadie Kane fix, you can read about what they're up to here. And then I had a chance to do something really cool. In April, I went to Italy, and this is something I've always wanted to do. This is the second time I've been, but this time I knew in advance I was going to go. Obviously, that's where the ancient Roman Empire was, so I wanted to check out all the cool stuff there. And I got it into my head that it would be really good to learn Italian ahead of time. I don't know what I was thinking, like it's easy or something, but I took Italian lessons for an entire year. And when I went to Bologna, Italy for this big children's book festival, that's a picture of me doing the interview there in front of an auditorium very much like this one. If you can imagine 2 more layers of balconies on top of those. And the entire interview was in Italian. Like an hour and a half of me answering questions in Italian. I have no idea what I said. I hope it was good. It was probably just like an hour and a half. Yes, I like gelato. Yes, yes, pizza is good, yes. But we had a great time. We met some old friends. There's Apollo and Artemis. We ate lots of gelato. And then in May, we came out with a little book called The Hidden Oracle. You know, you would think by now I have written every possible thing you could write about Greek and Roman mythology. I mean, I thought 5 books was enough. And then I thought, okay, well 10, surely I'll get everything in there. But the thing about mythology is the more you read, the deeper you go, the more it expands. And you find more gods, more monsters, more stories, more variations of all these things that I keep learning new stuff. Still today, I'm learning about gods and monsters I had no idea existed. In this series, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to write from the point of view of a god. And while I was writing Percy Jackson's Greek gods, I had come across an interesting fact. Twice, Apollo has been sent down to the mortal world, turned into a mortal as a punishment by his father Zeus. And he has to work as a slave for some mortal king. I didn't even know Zeus had the power to take away your divinity. He can literally ground you and turn you into a mortal. I was gearing up for Magnus Chase, getting back into that good old Viking mode, and I decided, okay, where can I go? And we decided to go a Viking in Norway. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of you guys that are from here, you have roots that go all the way back to the Scandinavian countries. I don't know how many of you have actually visited Norway. Oh, cool. But if you have not, try to do it. At some point, if you can, go to Norway. These pictures do not do it justice. I finally understood why the Vikings believed in giants. Because the landscape there looks like it was designed for beings 50 times our size. Favorite thing about this trip was getting lost. We were on a cruise ship, okay? It was my wife Becky and my son Patrick and I. And so we were going to all these little different towns. One day we stopped at a little tiny town called Flam, and it was at the base of a fjord, and we took a scenic train ride all the way up into the valley to the top of this mountain. And we had about an hour wait before we were supposed to take the train ride back. And while we were waiting, my wife said, you know, there is a hiking trail. Why don't we just walk back? And I don't do metric measurements very well. I looked at the sign and it said 22 kilometers. I'm thinking, you sure? I mean, the ship leaves in 2 hours. And, you know, my wife and my son said, yeah, no problem, let's do it. And so off we went. Hiking through the wilds of Norway, running into random herds of goats. The goats were like, sup. Every once in a while we'd find some Norwegian farmer, he'd be like, hello, crazy Americans. Have fun dying in the wilderness. Finally, after about an hour of this magical, amazing countryside, I got the bright idea to check Google Maps. And I decided to check the time, and I said, well, Becky, you know what? According to Google Maps, it's going to take us 3.5 hours to get back to the ship, and the ship leaves in 30 minutes. Luckily, we found a very nice Norwegian taxi driver who got us back to the ship just as they were getting ready to leave. But it was a great experience. Tonight, we're here for the Hammer of Thor. What can I tell you about this book? Well, no spoilers. I know a lot of you are just getting it tonight. But basically, in Norse mythology, the god Thor, the god of thunder, he is always losing his hammer. It happens like 3 times. You wouldn't think you could just lose the most powerful weapon in the world. But he does. And unlike the Avengers movies or the comic books, it is not true in Norse mythology that no one but Thor can pick up his hammer. It's not true that you have to be pure of heart and worthy. No. It's just really heavy. In fact, Thor himself can't pick up his own hammer unless he's got his iron gauntlets of strength. So if the Vikings saw these movies with Thor like barehanded, holding his hammer, they'd go like, no, just rip his hand off. That's not gonna work. And so I don't know how he loses it so much, but I guess the giants, they just sort of come up with a forklift or something and they pick it up when he's sleeping and, you know, drive away with it. So once again, in the book, he loses his hammer and they call on Magnus Chase and his friends to figure out what has happened to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that book when you get a chance to read it. And what's coming up next? Oh, tons of stuff. In 2017, first of all, I am just finishing up work on this manuscript. I am under a big deadline, so I'm writing as I travel. I was back at the hotel, in fact, right before I came here, writing bad poetry. Also coming out next year, we have this book, Camp Half-Blood Confidential. Now, what's this about? Okay, this comes out at the same time as The Dark Prophecy. Kind of like the Guide to the Norse Worlds, this is one of those sort of extra ancillary titles for those of you who just really want more information about Camp Half-Blood. It's chock full of smaller stories, little glimpses, little Easter eggs of what it's like at camp. There's a story by Travis Stoll. There's a story about what goes on in the attic. There's something from the Aphrodite cabin. There's something about Bunker 9, the Hephaestus cabin. There's descriptions of all the different things that are at camp. There's something from the Ares cabin. You get the idea. There's just little glimpses. So that is coming out. And then we're also trying something that we've never done before. I actually really like coloring books, I have to confess. And so I'm happy to say if you are a coloring fan, you will have a chance to get this in August. And of course, this time next year, we'll be talking about Magnus Chase 3. I can announce the title to you for the first time tonight, The Ship of the Dead. Just FYI for you fangirls and fanboys, no, I don't mean ship as in a relationship. I am not taking two dead people and shipping them because they'd be so cute together. Although I suppose that would be interesting too, but no. If you've read The Sword of Summer, you probably know that there is an actual ship of the dead that is this thing that they have. And yeah, it's made out of the toenails and fingernails of corpses.
But before we get started, we call this little segment Stumping Uncle Rick. So that's what we want you to do.
Do you like the Percy Jackson movies?
Come on, somebody had to ask, right? You knew that was coming. Fair question. The short answer is I've never seen them. That's the short answer. The backstory, no, it's true, I have never seen them. The backstory is that I think a lot of people have a misconception about how much control authors have. 99.9% of the time, authors have absolutely no input, no control. And no, J.K. Rowling did not. She cooperated, but in fact, just recently, when they did the movie for Fantastical Beasts and Where to Find Them, she got veto power over the script, and that was headline news, because no author in the history of ever has had that much control. She did not have that much control over the Harry Potter movie. She did not pick the cast, and she said that herself. People think she did, but she did not. The difference is sometimes the directors, sometimes the producers, they listen. That's the difference. Sometimes they're in sync and they really get it. Most of the time, that's not the case. So with me, my deal was pretty much standard. They said, oh, absolutely, don't worry about it. We'll make it completely like the books. We'll do a great job. You don't need to worry about it. We love these books. And I just kind of have to say, okay, and they showed me the script, and I looked at it, and they said, do you have any suggestions? I said, yes. I gave them about 20 pages of suggestions. Did they take the suggestions? No. Not so much, no. But you know, at that point, what can you do? I mean, I don't control it. They don't want the author to control it, because frankly, most of us don't know a thing about making movies, and I certainly don't know a thing about it. So I can suggest, but at the end of the day, it's the studio. And so I had to say, you know what? I don't know if I like the way this is going. I'm just gonna go over here, bye! And so that's where I said, you know, I can't control the movies, I can only control the books. So all I can tell you is I'll try my best to make the books as good as I can make them. But I can't do anything. Good question.
Who's the person you regret killing the most?
Wait, you mean I'm supposed to regret someone? Obviously, I wouldn't kill them if I regret, no. I mean, okay, here's the thing, you know. The thing about the books is that when you're writing this story, the stakes have to be high. So if there was never anything bad that happened to good people, that would be pretty boring. I mean, I don't know that that would be very exciting, and you wouldn't really buy it, that there was something at stake. So everybody can't live. I think, actually, I've been pretty good about not slaughtering main characters. I mean, yes, occasionally people die, and that's really sad. But you know, what can I tell you? The thing is that when people tell me that I killed the characters they like, usually I turn that around and say, I think maybe the reason that you like them so much is because they died. It makes you have a lot of sympathy for them.
Do you like Percy or Annabeth more?
Oh, wow. Whew, I'm not sure how to answer that. I don't think anyone's, you think somebody did ask me that before, but I don't think anybody has. All I can really tell you about that is the model for me of Percy and Annabeth's relationship is me and Becky, my wife. Because we have been together since we were 16 years old. So we got together about the same time Percy and Annabeth got together. So that's how I relate to that relationship. I relate most to Percy because he's like me. He's sarcastic, Sometimes he's clueless. And I relate to Annabeth because she's the one that's always setting him straight and saying, no seaweed brain, over here. And my wife is the one that does that for me. She's always making sure I'm not getting too far off track, and she's sort of my compass. She's the one that keeps me going. All right.
What's your favorite book in the Percy Jackson series?
Probably The Last Olympian, because it wrapped everything up, and I got to do the big battle scene in Manhattan. That was a lot of fun. True story, by the way. There's a scene that was supposed to be in The Last Olympian that got cut because we were afraid the book was a little too long. And it was a scene where when the entire island of Manhattan is asleep, Percy and Grover are running around going from battle to battle, and they stumble over Nancy Bobofet, the bully from book 1. And she's just like passed out there. And Grover's like, can we at least draw a mustache on her? And Percy says, nah, let's see, she's in the middle of the street, let's drag her to safety. And so they drag her to safety. It's just a moment where Percy reflects, wow, I've come a long way since I was 12, you know? Now I've got to like look after these people that used to bully me, but that's cool. That goes with being a hero, I suppose.
Would you ever consider writing a series of short stories about Percy Jackson as an adult and his kids?
I get that question a lot. It's a very good question. I don't know. I kind of like Percy Jackson remaining a teenager forever. I do. I like that. Because, and I'll tell you what, I like that at some point you sort of have to take over in your imagination what you think it would be like to have him be an adult. I will confess, I absolutely adore the Harry Potter series. It's fantastic. But I despised the epilogue. I did not want to know Harry Potter at 30 and what kind of car he drives and where he works and what his kids' names were. I didn't want to know. I just wanted Harry to be Harry Potter, the one I knew from the books. That's just my own personal taste. So I don't see ever doing that with Percy. And then they grew up and they had 2.5 children and lived in the suburbs. I'll let you guys imagine that part. I don't know, maybe someday I'll do like the next generation, but I'm not sure. That's not high on my list.
And which series do you think you wrote the best?
Wow.
Don't be shy.
I don't know. I mean, Addison, I like to think that I learn something every time I write a book, and I try to apply it to the next book. But it's true that every time I write a book, it's like starting all over again. I am always afraid, oh no, I've forgotten how to write. It happens to me still. You'd think that by now I would be, oh yeah, no problem, I'll just knock out. No, every novel is just as hard as the first one. So I don't know which one I wrote the best. I mean, they all have things that I like about them, but everybody has their favorites. Some people like this one, some people like that one, some people love the series, some people don't like it and they like this one instead. Really, that's why I like to keep writing. All I can promise you is I will keep writing as long as I feel enthusiastic, excited about it, and I feel like I've got something to say, and as long as you guys are still enjoying the books. And if you guys are still enjoying them, all I can say is I will keep writing them.
Okay, give it up, St. Paul, for your favorite writer of mine, Riordan!
So that's it. I had tons of fun at the event, I know, and it was really awesome. I'm super excited for the third book now. I actually haven't read the second one yet, but it's signed. It's signed! And it looks really cool. I heard this one kid afterwards saying that it smelled like Sharpie and book. That the book smelled like Sharpie and book. It's like, okay then. I got the last Hotel of Valhalla shirt. They were throwing them out across the crowd and I caught the very last one. So that was awesome. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.